There are ultimately going to be three strategies that the body employs for defending against foreign organisms, molecules, and or cancer. So number one strategy, Number one strategy, keep the foreign organisms or molecules out of the body in the first place. Should seem pretty specific. Should seem pretty basic. But it is. It's actually a very important part of our three defense strategy. Keep everything out in the first place. And we do this by employing physical and chemical surface barriers. They can be non-specific, they just keep foreign molecules out of the body, or they can be specific, attack foreign organisms. So number one, keep them out in the first place. Number two, attack any foreign organism or molecule or cancer cell inside the body. And then three, destroy specific types of foreign organisms or molecules or cancers inside the body. So we have specific and non-specific attacks. But we're going to start off by looking at our keep the foreign organisms or molecules out of the body in the first place. We're going to do this with physical and chemical barriers. So we have a variety of physical and chemical barriers. Number one, tears. Tears are actually a very effective physical barrier. They also can be a chemical barrier. Tears help wash away pathogens from your eyes. Keep your eyes healthy, keep organisms out of your eyes. They help wash those pathogens away. They also contain antibacterial enzymes that will break down any foreign invaders that might try to stick around in the first place. Skin is actually a great physical barrier. It is resistant to most toxins and enzymes of living organisms, so it'll physically keep things out. But it also is ever so slightly acidic, which is pretty cool, and will help fight off foreign invaders. It's a physical barrier, and it's also waterproof. Keeps water out, keeps water in. So keeps water out from the outside from getting in, keeps water from inside the body from getting out. So it provides very great, solid physical barrier. The stomach also provides a fantastic a chemical barrier. It's highly, highly acidic. The lining of the stomach produces hydrochloric acid and protein digesting enzymes that are going to destroy pathogens that are unfortunate enough to make it all the way into your stomach. Saliva is also a fantastic mechanism in our first line of defense. Saliva contains lysozyme, an enzyme that's going to enzymes that are going to kill bacteria. It's going to function much like tears. Washes out the mouth. It'll wash things down into your stomach where they can be broken down by that hydrochloric acid and enzymes. But it's also antibacterial, just like your tears. The respiratory tract is lined with mucus and cilia. That mucus also traps microbes, prevents them from going any further, but also contains digestive enzymes that'll break them down. The urinary bladder, urine actually slows bacterial growth because it's so acidic, and it also flushes microbes out of the urethra. So anywhere we have an opening in the body, you're going to see intense mechanisms of both physical and chemical barriers to help keep foreign invaders out. Here's the diagram that kind of summarizes all of that, so spend a little bit of time looking at this diagram. The second line of defense is going to be attack any foreign organisms or molecules or cancer cells inside of the body. So if it's something we don't want, we're going to attack it. We're going to do this by using defensive cells. Defensive cells, things like phagocytes or white blood cells, are going to engulf those organisms. We also have defensive proteins. Defensive proteins like interferons can help slow viral reproduction. They're small proteins that are secreted by a cell that has been infected by a virus. This is going to attract macrophages and natural killer cells that are going to destroy the infected cells. It's also going to stimulate neighbor cells to make proteins that prevent the virus from replicating. So if we get a virus inside the cell, we can send out an interferon, a defense protein that says, hey, over here, this cell's infected with the virus, come kill it. And the body can actually take up that mantle, recognize that it is an infected cell, and kill it off. Here is an example of a white blood cell hunting down a bacteriophage. So here we've got a great big white blood cell that's going to, he's spotted this little bacteria. He's going to make his way towards it and phagocytize it, eat it up, break it down. So here's just a really awesome picture of that. Here we've got natural killer cells that are attacking a leukemia cell. So they've recognized that this is a cancer cell. They've recognized it's an abnormal cell that can spread rapidly. And so they are going to take it down. These natural killer cells are a type of white blood cell. They search out abnormal cells, including cancer cells, and kill them. So along with the second line of defense, we can use either white blood cells to take them down, or we can use those proteins, interferons, to help take down those cells, but we can also use some other mechanisms. One system that we can use is going to be inflammation. Inflammation is used to destroy invaders and help repair and restore damaged tissue. And there are 4 signs of inflammation. Redness, which is caused by mast cells releasing a histamine, which causes blood vessels to dilate. As those blood vessels dilate, more blood flow rushes to that area. It's going to deliver more defensive cells, remove dead cells and toxins. Heat is caused by that rushing blood, so the temperature rises as a result of the increased blood flow. Now, the great thing about heat is that it can speed up healing, and activities of the defensive cells may also disrupt the cells, may also disrupt the activity of the foreign invaders. Swelling is also going to be a sign of inflammation. Swelling is caused by the histamine causing the capillaries to become leaking. This fluid is going to seep into the tissues. The fluid is going to bring clotting factors, oxygen, and nutrients. And then pain. Pain can also be present, caused by an excess of fluid, bacterial toxins, and prostaglandins. So the pain is not necessarily a welcome part of the defense. It just comes along with that inflammation, or can be a sign of inflammation. So here's an example of sort of what that looks like. We see a foreign object come into the body. These mast cells are going to release histamines. Histamines are going to cause a redness. They're going to cause the blood cells, or the blood vessels, to dilate. The increase in dilation is going to increase the heat, the temperature as well. We're also going to see swelling of that area as the fluid containing defensive chemicals, blood clotting factors, oxygen, nutrients, and defensive cells seeps into that injured area to break it down and fight. So one thing that I just want to point out, it seems like a very rapid response that we often have is to, as soon as we get infected, we try to reduce swelling. We try to reduce inflammation. We take things like Tylenol that can reduce swelling and inflammation, can reduce fever. While it's not good to let a fever run unchecked, this is your body's defense system at work. So keep that in mind if you are trying to apply cool temperatures to a particular area to bring down the swelling. Just be very careful and note what you are doing. If you are not taking antibiotics, if you are not addressing the foreign invaders that are causing it in the first place, it's not a good idea to necessarily try to stop that inflammatory response. It's a good thing if we're fighting off foreign invaders. It's a good thing. Your body is using it. Your body is working the way it should. So don't necessarily try to stop inflammation unless you are addressing the source of the problem, or otherwise you're going to allow those foreign invaders to just run unchecked throughout your system. All right, we're going to watch a quick summary video.
When you're injured or attacked by a pathogen, your body will initiate an inflammatory response as part of your nonspecific defenses. The inflammatory response is initiated when the damaged tissue sends out a variety of chemicals to surrounding tissues and the rest of the body. Some of these chemicals stimulate local mast cells to release histamine, a very important molecule in the inflammatory response. Histamine has 2 major effects. First, it relaxes smooth muscles around local arterioles, increasing blood flow to the area and causing the tissue to become hot and red. Second, it causes the capillary walls to weaken and become leaky. Fluid seeps out of the capillaries and causes swelling in the area around the injury. The combination of swelling and chemicals released from the damaged tissue stimulate local sensory neurons, which results in pain. Still other chemicals released from the site of injury attract white blood cells to the area. Some of the recruited white blood cells squeeze through the leaky capillaries into the damaged area. The phagocytic white blood cells engulf and digest any bacteria that have entered through the wound. Finally, clotting seals off the wound to prevent further invasion by microbes.
All right, so to continue with our second line of defense, there's also fever. So fever is actually it's an abnormally high body temperature, but it is part of the body's defense mechanism. It's there to primarily slow the growth of bacteria and stimulate body defense responses. It's caused by pyrogens, chemicals that reset the brain's thermostat to a higher temperature. So instead of saying, hey, your body is happy at 98.6, let's ratchet that up. Let's turn the thermostat up just a little bit, so that way we can hopefully slow bacterial growth and stimulate the body's defense response. A mild or moderate fever can help fight bacterial infection. Like I said before, this is an important part of your body's defense system. Your body has a fever for a reason. You're trying to fight off a bacterial or viral infection. If you are not taking other measures to fight off that bacterial infection, it's not necessarily a good idea to just get rid of the fever right away. Please acknowledge that if you have a fever, something else is wrong, and treat whatever it is wrong before you start tearing down your body's defense system. Now, that's for a mild or moderate fever. Anything higher than, 105 is very, very dangerous. Do not allow your fever to go unchecked. Do not allow your fever to get up too high. 104, 105, absolutely not a great idea. At that point, you can start damaging your own cells as well. So I'm just throwing it out there. Just keep yourself informed. A very, very mild fever does not necessarily need to be treated with Tylenol or acetaminophen, something that's going to reduce the fever, reduce the pain without addressing what the actual issue is. So just keep in mind, your body has these defense mechanisms for a reason. Your body undergoes these systems for a reason. All right, so then we're going to move on to the third line of defense. The third line of defense is what's known as adaptive immunity. This has specific responses in memory. It's going to be defined by its function: recognize and destroy specific pathogens or foreign molecules. This can be triggered with a vaccine. The whole point of vaccine is to give your body exposure to the particular pathogens. That way, if it ever comes across it again, it can deploy a rapid response team to stop it in its tracks. So the goal of the vaccine is to introduce a harmless form of the pathogen, usually a heat-treated or a killed or a denatured version of the pathogen, to the body, and to inculcate the immune response with some memory. So here is a diagram of the white blood cell that has the memory, recognizes the body cells as self or friend, but then it can also recognize the antigens that are present on a surface of a pathogen. The immune system is going to recognize this as foe and attack. All right, and that's it for this chapter. From this chapter, you should be able to use the word pathogen to explain why our body needs a defense mechanism and describe in detail each of the 3 lines of defense. Please let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns.